I turned 19 and discovered my own mother had erased me from family photos, parties, and vacations, so I walked into a recruiter's office and signed the papers she never saw coming. I turned 19 in a kitchen that didn't seem to know my name. The cereal bowls were cartoon-themed. The family calendar over the microwave had color-coded boxes for Lily's recital, Ben's dentist, Craig's golf, and Melissa's spa day. My square for that week said Evan? In pencil, like a placeholder for a person who might show up if the weather cooperated. Melissa is my mother. Craig is her husband. Lily and Ben are their kids together, which is how everyone says it at church when they want the conversation to sound tidy. Me, I'm the asterisk. The from a previous that gets swallowed at the end of sentences. When Mom married Craig, the house changed temperature. It wasn't abrupt, nothing fell off a shelf. It was the slow cold of a room where the vent blew air you couldn't see. The first year after the wedding, I kept telling myself it was logistics. 2 little kids. New schedules. We were all adjusting. But adjusting started to mean I adjusted, and everyone else didn't. Evan, can you pick up Lily at 3:15? Mom would text while I was at my shift at the grocery store. If I said I couldn't, she'd reply, we can't do everything. If I left work early and did it, Craig would call me the help in a voice dressed up like a joke. When I asked if we could rotate chores, he said, adults handle what needs handling. You want adult privileges, you take adult responsibility. Adult privileges apparently meant paying rent for the room that used to be mine and being told to knock before entering a kitchen where I grew up. Birthdays got weird. Mine fell on a Saturday that first year. I came downstairs ready for a pancake peace treaty and found the car already loaded for Lily's tumbling competition. We'll celebrate later, Mom said, which turned into a leftover cupcake on Sunday and a we owe you that never made it to the calendar. When I said it hurt, she said, you're too sensitive. When I went quiet, she said, don't make this about you. It wasn't one big betrayal. It was 1,000 grazes that never healed. They stopped telling me about family photos because you work so much. They started telling people I chose not to come to events I didn't know about. I got added to a group chat that somehow silenced itself every time there was information I needed, and then unmuted to ask if I could sit this one out because we don't have enough seats. One Tuesday, I came home from class and found a note on the counter in Mom's handwriting. Back in an hour, Ben's checkup, pizza money in the drawer. I sighed, changed, and sat with Lily while she practiced reading. An hour turned into 3. The little kids fell asleep on the couch. At 10:30 the door opened and laughter arrived before bodies. Mom and Craig walked in with movie theater smell and matching paper bracelets. You said an hour, I said, keeping my voice flat so the kids wouldn't wake. It was spontaneous, Mom said, like spontaneity was a weather system she suffered, not a choice she made. Thank you for covering. We'll pay you back for the pizza. They didn't. They never do. Not with money. With words like you're so helpful, which is a currency that buys nothing when you need gas. I know how resentment sounds. I also know how it grows. I worked. I signed up for extra shifts. I stacked gallon jugs in the stockroom and told myself the ache in my shoulders meant I was building something that would hold. I took community college classes at night and slept in a room that used to be mine until it became a storage closet with a bed. My baby photos disappeared from the hallway wall, replaced by a collage of Lily's lost tooth and Ben in a dinosaur hoodie. When I asked where mine went, Mom said, we should make you a digital album, and then she never did. The day I realized it wasn't an accident was the day of the family lake day. I heard about it because my manager asked if I needed Saturday free for the big trip. I said, what trip? And he said, your mom posted it. I opened my phone and there it was, Melissa's caption, nothing like lake days with my crew. Photos of the boat. Lily's hair braided. Ben wrapped in a towel. Craig with his hat backwards pretending not to pose. The empty space on the bow where I might have sat looked like a placeholder for a ghost. I texted Mom, not with a script, just am I not invited to things now? She answered, this was for the little ones. You have work. I didn't have work. I had a shift I could have traded if someone had given me the courtesy of a sentence. That night, when they came home sunburned and loud, I tried again, in the kitchen, in the safe zone where conflict has to wear shoes. If you don't want me there, say it. Don't turn me into a volunteer babysitter or pretend I opted out. Craig opened the fridge like the conversation bored him. Here we go again. Mom bit her lip, eyes flicking to the stairs like she was worried the little kids would hear me ask to be treated like part of the house. You know we love you, she said. You just don't always fit. There it was. The sentence without decorations. I respect honesty. I also respect what it does to a person when it shows up late. My friend Mateo joked I should charge an hourly rate for brothering. He wasn't wrong. I kept a mental ledger I hated keeping, rides to school, sick day soups, last-minute poster boards. I paid rent too. Craig insisted, teacher's responsibility, and whenever I was short, he'd do the long sigh and say, you could help more, as if I wasn't already the person this house called when anything ran out. The last straw wasn't fireworks. It was a Tuesday. I came home to the quiet that means no one thought about me. A casserole dish on the counter. A text from Mom, don't wait up, dinner's on the stove. I opened the fridge to get milk and saw a paper taped inside, Craig's handwriting, Evan, please don't touch Lily's cake for Saturday. She asked for strawberries. The cake I offered to buy last week and got told we're handling it. I stood there with the fridge light flickering like it knew what I didn't want to say out loud. I wasn't a son here. I was a utility. A backup plan. A placeholder when staffing ran low. I didn't do anything dramatic. I ate. I showered. I lay awake and thought about the version of me who'd been waiting at this kitchen table for 3 years for an invitation that kept getting lost in the mail. The next afternoon, I cut through the strip mall behind the store on my break and saw the recruiting office. People joke about recruiters. I get why. The posters are too shiny. The slogans are too simple. But the door was open and the air conditioning was loud and a woman behind the desk looked up like she had decided before she met me that I was worth talking to. "You look like you're thinking hard," she said. "I am," I said. "About leaving." She didn't sell me. She asked me about now. Where I slept. Who made me feel small. What I wanted my body to be good at besides endurance. She talked about contracts and jobs and training. She said words like housing and healthcare and structure. She also said words like deployment and danger and sacrifice. She didn't pretend the room was softer than it was. It wasn't the commercials that got me. It was the idea of a place where the rules are written down and you can read them and choose, instead of having someone change the calendar and call it love. I took pamphlets. I took a breath. I stood in the parking lot and felt my heart do that alarm bell rhythm hope makes when it's confused for fear. That night I told Mom and Craig at the table because if you're going to explode a room, you should at least use the room that taught you how to swallow dynamite. I met with a recruiter, I said. I'm thinking about enlisting. Silence first. Then Mom's hands went to her mouth like the gesture could reverse time. No, she said. No. That's too dangerous. You're a baby. I'm 19, I said. I'm the only adult in this house who doesn't get treated like one. Craig barked a laugh. So what, this is revenge? Join up to prove a point? This is survival, I said. It's a plan. It's a bed that's mine and a job that's written down and a reason to be somewhere that doesn't require me to be invisible. Mom shook her head. You're abandoning your family. I've been abandoned in place for years, I said, and felt something in my throat loosen. You'll be okay. You always are. I need to be okay too. She cried. Craig lectured. He listed dangers he downloaded from a headline. He told me I didn't have what it takes. He told me I'd be back in a month begging for my room. I didn't tell him my room had already been converted into an overflow closet. I didn't tell him the calendar would erase me in pencil as easily as it had written Evan. I said I'd keep seeing the recruiter and that I was serious. The next weeks were a blur of tests, paperwork, mornings that started too early for anyone else to notice I'd left. The recruiter told me to run even when I wanted to walk. She told me how to turn I want out into I qualify for something that isn't a poster. I passed things I didn't think I could pass. I ate a lot of bad protein bars. I started sleeping like my body finally believed it belonged to its owner. On the day I signed, I wrote a note and left it on the kitchen table under the color-coded calendar. I didn't make it poetic. I wrote, I'm leaving because staying is a slow kind of drowning, and I'm tired of holding my breath. I wrote, I love the kids and I will call. I wrote, you do not get to tell people I ran away. Tell them I enlisted. I signed my name in ink I bought myself. Mom texted me 3 paragraphs about fear and betrayal and what will people think. Craig texted me good luck like a dare. Lily asked if I'd still come to a recital. I told her yes. I showed up with flowers and a real smile and cheered like a man who has decided to be present for the people who actually want him there. Ben asked if I'd teach him to tie his shoes better. I did. I wrote the steps on an index card and left it on the fridge with a magnet shaped like a beach ball. The magnet stayed longer than my photos ever did. The day I shipped out, Mateo drove me to the bus station at 5 in the morning. The sky was gray like a blank page. He bumped my shoulder and said, you're doing the hard right thing, which is a phrase I plan to keep. I hugged my grandmother in the parking lot because she came all the way across town in a pink robe to do it. She whispered, make your bed and make your life, which sounds like a joke until you need a sentence to hold in your mouth when things hurt. I won't pretend the uniform solved anything. It didn't make me a better son or a worse one. It made me a person with a bunk and a number and a job that didn't disappear when someone wanted a spontaneous night out. It made me strong in places I didn't know were muscles. It made me tired in ways that felt clean. I mailed Lily a postcard from training with a drawing of a stick-figure soldier holding a trumpet because I can't draw rifles without making the room colder. I sent Ben a challenge coin with a note that said, for bravery during shoelace battles. I called Mom on Sundays when we were allowed phones. Sometimes she answered. Sometimes she didn't. When she did, the conversation was careful. We didn't talk about calendars. We talked about weather and whether Lily's recital went well and whether Ben still liked dinosaurs. It was enough. It wasn't everything. It didn't have to be. If you're looking for a moral, I don't have one that fits on a magnet. I have this, some houses love you like an echo, you say I'm here, and they give you back a thinner version until you can't hear yourself anymore. Some doors aren't locked, they're just heavy, and you need both hands to pull them open. Joining up wasn't me running away. It was me walking through a door and letting the room behind me keep whatever name it wanted to call me. I have a new room now. My name is on the list. When they take attendance, I answer before anyone else can do it for me.